Here at Anaheim Stadium, home plate has been transformed into a giant berm. The 50-yard line converted to stutter bumps and jumps. The Rams and Angels would have trouble identifying their home playing field. Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Myers. We're here for the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge Round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series. In upcoming weeks, right here on ESPN, you'll see all the exciting, high-flying Supercross action. With me for this evening's event at trackside, former Supercross champion Mike Bell.
Larry, there's always something very special about opening day, no matter what sport you're involved in. When I was racing, the opening event gave me an opportunity to either extend the success I had from the previous season or leave behind the disappointments. The track looks great tonight, the riders are pumped, and I'm really excited about tonight's racing action.
We'll be talking with Mike later in the program. But first, let's take a look at qualifying action that took place earlier today. Jeff Ward lined up for the first qualifier with a foot badly swollen from a practice injury. He had no idea how it would affect his riding or if he would be able to ride at all. With the first heat underway, the question was answered. The former Supercross champ was not to be found anywhere on the track. The pain was too much for the Kawasaki 8. Without Ward, the battle was between number 7, Honda's Jeff Stanton, and number 18, Suzuki's Todd DeHoop, and charging hard after a dismal start, number 45, Yamaha's teenage sensation, Damon Bradshaw. Earlier in the year, Bradshaw from Charlotte, North Carolina, had scored an impressive win in a Japanese Supercross. It was no wonder the eyes were on him. This was not, however, Bradshaw's day. In slow motion, you can see Bradshaw try to make mid-air adjustments to avoid a fallen rider. He missed the rider, but paid a price. At first, it appeared Bradshaw had escaped unscathed. But watch closely as he picks up his Yamaha. Despite the obvious pain, Bradshaw remounted and finished the race. He was through, however, for the night. Meanwhile, Stanton from Sherwood, Michigan was out front and cruising. The Team Honda rider easily took the win in qualifier number 1. In the second qualifier, number 111, Jean-Michel Bayle, the world's 125 motocross champion from France, was the early leader over number 4, Ron Lechine. Lechine tried a little bump and run, but the French champion held his ground while the rest of the pack did their best to keep the leaders in sight. Then Lechine gave the Frenchman a lesson in cornering flat track style. For all practical purposes, qualifier number 2 was over. The top 5 riders in each qualifying round transferred directly to the main. For those not in the top 5, there are semifinals and a last chance qualifier. The incentive to do well in a qualifier then is not money or points. It's to make the main and avoid running additional races and strength-draining laps. Riders usually let it all hang out in qualifying and sometimes too far. Fortunately, Bayle was not injured and lost only 1 position. The French world champion, who was in the States specifically to better his Supercross skills, would finish 3rd and easily qualify for the main. Meanwhile, up front, Kawasaki's Ron Lechine managed to hold his position for a feet off the pegs win. Mickey Diamond, number 23, found himself the leader of qualifier number 3. Behind him, a host of riders, including number 1, defending Supercross champ Rick Johnson. For those familiar with Johnson's riding style, it was apparent the Honda superstar was not riding to his potential. His timing was off by a fraction of a second. For most riders, that difference would lead to disaster. For Johnson, well, it almost made him mortal. Watch the chain reaction coming up, and you'll see what I mean. King of the Hill? Johnson, of course. Let's watch that one again. First, Sean Kalos goes down and is hit by Brian Manley, who, in the process of falling, wipes out Eric Kehoe, who knocks Johnson into Dean Mattson. Not only did Johnson stay upright, he gained 2 positions. With an open track, Johnson from El Cajon, California, started to heat up. The Team Honda superstar caught and passed Ray Somo to move into the number 2 position. That, however, was the extent of Johnson's drop. Up front, Mickey Diamond from Placentia, California, was on cruise control. The Team Yamaha rider easily recorded the win in the 3rd of 3 qualifying heats. Coming up, the last chance qualifier. Stay tuned to ESPN. Welcome back to round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series. From 3 heat races and 2 semis, 20 riders have already earned positions in the main event. The final transfer spot goes to the winner of the last chance qualifier. It's one last chance to make the main, where series points and dollars are at stake. The action is always intense. In the last chance qualifier, riders let it all hang out. There is no holding back and no room for the timid. Ross Peterson, the Canadian national champion, found that out the hard way. Fortunately, Peterson, although shaken up, was not injured. Let's look at that crash again. Dean Matson came off the jump at an angle. Peterson later said, "I saw him coming, but there was no place to hide." Like I said, the last chance qualifier is no place for the timid. It all boiled down to this last lap dash between Denny Stephenson on the green Kawasaki and Honda-mounted Danny Storbeck. When Stephenson opened a slight lead, Storbeck was forced to gamble. The gamble failed, and there was no second chance. Stephenson from Omaha, Nebraska went on to claim the win on the rough Anaheim track. The 125cc Supercross class was created to give younger riders the opportunity of experiencing rough Supercross tracks and huge crowds while competing against others of the same skill level. While they are frequently referred to as the junior class, there is nothing junior about their abilities. When the gate drops, they are just as intent as those riding the 250cc main event. The early leader at Anaheim was number 747, Jeff Emig from Independence, Missouri. Close behind, number 26, Jeff Matasevich from La Habra, California. The pair of Kawasaki riders quickly left the rest of the field behind. Then Matasevich pushed Emig to the edge of the track and into the bale. That was that. Matasevich, who was the 1988 Western 125 Supercross champion, was on his way to an easy win. Behind him, charging through the pack, was Mike LaRocco on the white Yamaha. LaRocco from LaPorte, Indiana, is another rising star, but this was not his day. LaRocco was uninjured and quickly remounted to re-enter the fray. At that point, LaRocco had only been passed by a couple of riders. Plenty of time left to repass them and claim a spot in the winner's circle. Like I said, this was not LaRocco's day. After all that, LaRocco still claimed 7th in the main. Late in the race, and Matasevich, still in the lead, was on cruise control. Jimmy Gaddis on the yellow Suzuki was second, with Honda's Larry Ward close behind and charging. Ward, who suffered a bad start, had worked from mid-pack and had momentum on his side. Gaddis went wide, and Ward went to second. The first three positions in the 125 main were set. The win would go to number 26, Team Kawasaki's defending 125 champ, Jeff Matasevich, with Ward finishing second and Jimmy Gaddis third. Welcome back to round one of the Camel Supercross Series. The field for the 250 main event is on the line and ready to go. The start is just moments away, and as any rider will tell you, the dropping of the gate is the most crucial part of Supercross. In the last moments prior to the start, most riders want to be left alone. They mentally prepare themselves for what lies ahead. Earlier, we talked to some of them.
At the bottom of the gate, there's a pin that releases the gate, and I'm watching that pin. The second the pin moves, I dump the clutch.
I'm looking for a move of the pin so I can be aggressive and be right on top of it so I can get to the first turn in the top 5.
So I watch diagonally on the other gate beside me, just for a better view. I feel that I can look easier on a diagonal than I can straight down and be a little quicker.
With the riders set to go, let's take a quick look at that gate. It's made up of individual sections. If a rider leaves early, and Jean-Michel Bayle almost jumped the gate, he would have been caught and held up while the rest of the field left him behind. The field rockets down the long straightaway. And grabbing the whole shot is rider number 10, Guy Cooper from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Cooper aboard a hot, and a rider goes down hard. It looks like it is. It's rider number 111, Jean-Michel Bayle, the Frenchman. He has had his troubles here today. Meanwhile, out in front, it's Cooper, rider number 10. He's followed by Johnny O'Mara on the Suzuki, then Eric Kehoe, Rick Johnson, Jeff Stanton, and another rider down, Jeff Fisher, and Fisher is hit. Fisher on the Kawasaki went down and was hit by number 23 on the Yamaha. That was Mickey Diamond. Back to the leaders. It's still rider number 10, Guy Cooper, followed by number 20. That's Johnny O'Mara. Then comes Rick Johnson in third, Eric Kehoe fourth, and Jeff Stanton, the newest member of Team Honda, rider number 7, rounding out the top 5. Cooper missed all but one Supercross race in 1988. He was injured while racing in Europe. It would appear, though, that long layoff did not bother the young Honda star at all. Meanwhile, Rick Johnson, rider number 1, who is currently nestled in the number 3 position, has not put forth any type of charge. I can't believe that Johnson is going to allow that to continue. At an outdoor motocross just a couple of weeks ago, Johnson went, and Guy Cooper almost went down. Cooper got sideways in the whoops. His feet were off the pegs. And look, here comes O'Mara. Rider number 20 on the Suzuki, Johnny O'Mara, former Supercross champion, takes over the number 1 position. Guy Cooper appeared to have the situation well under control, but Johnny O'Mara, taking advantage of a Cooper bobble, has taken over the lead. That move had to have been a great thrill for O'Mara fans. For the past couple of seasons, O'Mara, plagued with knee problems, has not put forth this kind of an effort. It's good to see the O-Show back in the saddle and charging hard. Meanwhile, back in 3rd place, Rick Johnson is charging hard himself. The defending Supercross champion was involved, as I started to tell you earlier, in an altercation at an outdoor track just a couple of weeks ago. He was down on the ground and was hit hard by several riders, and Cooper bobbled again. Cooper is having all kinds of problems out on that racetrack, and look who's going to take advantage of this one. No! Cooper grabs a handful of throttle and bounced away from Johnson. It appeared that Johnson was going to take over that number 2 spot, but Cooper was having none of it. Going back to that Rick Johnson story, while Johnson was on the ground after a spill, he was hit by several riders and run over. He's extremely stiff, and Johnson goes to the inside. He's side by side with his teammate, and Johnson, what a motocross move that was, has taken over the number 2 position. He'll now set his sights on Johnny O'Mara. We'll be back with more of the main event and find out if Johnson can maintain his charge right after this. Welcome back to Anaheim Stadium and round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series. That's Johnny O'Mara, rider number 20 of Team Suzuki. The O-Show took the lead in round 1 when Guy Cooper from Team Honda bobbled. Since then, O'Mara has done nothing but lengthen his lead. The O-Show has ridden a superb race. O'Mara is almost run off the track. O'Mara was lapping a rider. He tried to go around the outside. That rider pushed his bike directly into O'Mara. And there's Rick Johnson. Johnson has closed the gap considerably. There's the rider that caused it. That's number 41, Jason Upshaw. Here's O'Mara over the finish line jump, and there's Johnson. Let's go back and replay that incident. Now watch O'Mara try to make the pass on the left-hand side. And Upshaw, out of control, crashes into O'Mara. O'Mara almost off the track. He managed to save it, and now back on the track, he's opened his lead up once again. O'Mara is riding a superb race. O'Mara skidded sideways and has come to a halt on the track. I don't believe this. The O-Show, after riding such a beautiful race, is going to be out of it. O'Mara has trouble steering his motorcycle. Now he's aiming for the side of the racetrack and going at a snail's pace. You've got to feel sorry for Johnny O'Mara. O'Mara now throws up his arms in disgust and has come to a complete halt. He rips off his goggles. Johnny O'Mara is heartbroken. Meanwhile, the defending Supercross champion from El Cajon, California, has inherited the number 1 position. Would he have caught O'Mara? We'll never know. What we do know is the early season rumor that the O-Show is back is true. You can bet the former Supercross champ will be heard from again before this series is over. There they go, pushing O'Mara's bike off the track and into the pit area. What a disappointment for Team Suzuki and Johnny O'Mara. Meanwhile, Rick Johnson is taking advantage of the clear track ahead. Even with a big lead, the superstar will keep on pushing. If he slows down, it would be like riding a different track. He knows it, and so does his mechanic, Brian Lunas. If Johnson forgets, then Lunas will remind him. How? Let's go down to Mike Bell and find out.
Before the event tonight, we had a chance to talk to the mechanics on how they communicate with their riders.
Well, you use a plus or a minus for the interval ahead and behind, and most of them are used to communicating in 2 or 3 word groups, you know, and they just use that, and that works really well for them.
We write a lot of messages sometimes. Sometimes they're inside jokes between the rider and the mechanic, or you know, let him know he's doing a good job, or let him know he needs to pick up the pace. Whatever we can motivate him to get him to give 100% during that race.
One of the real keys to this sport is when you hire a rider is to get a mechanic that will be totally compatible with him and can, you know, communicate with him almost on a non-verbal basis, so they know what the other one's thinking.
When I was racing, I used the signboard for an emotional crutch, more for inspiration than information. Back to you, Larry.
Thank you, Mike, and back to the track. Rick Johnson is still the leader, but look at this battle shaping up for the number 2 position. It's between a pair of Honda riders. Number 10, Guy Cooper, the early leader, and rider number 7 out of Sherwood, Michigan, Jeff Stanton, the newest member of Team Honda. Stanton has been closing steadily throughout the past 3 or 4 laps. He now is less than 2 bike lengths behind Guy Cooper. He would like to see the same kind of mistake that Cooper made, allowing Johnson to get by. It would appear, though, that Stanton is going to have to apply the pressure if he wants to make the pass. Cooper has settled down and is riding almost a flawless race. Here comes Stanton looking for that running room. He now closes the gap to less than a bike length and tries to get a wheel inside and does. Jeff Stanton almost drew alongside Guy Cooper. He is putting the pressure on. The battle between the Honda teammates has brought them closer to the rear wheel of Johnson. I don't think Johnson, who is slowing down because of traffic ahead, knows they're back there. Here they come, and Stanton with an inside line takes over the number 2 position. Let's see now if Guy Cooper can come back or if he'll let Stanton go. Right now we have Hondas 1, 2, 3. Cooper can come back. If he can push Stanton the way Stanton was pushing him just a half a lap ago, then they could catch Johnson. Ironically, Jeff Stanton and Rick Johnson have been living and training together. Earlier, we asked Jeff Stanton about that.
It helps us out a lot. He's getting older, and he needs someone young like me to come along and push him. We've just been riding together a lot, chasing each other around, just trying to improve our riding, training together. It's fun for him and fun for me to go out and push each other. And when we're lifting weights, just to push each other when we're lifting weights or running or training and everything. And we get along good, so that helps out a lot too.
For Jeff Stanton, living and working with Rick Johnson had to have been a godsend. He rode good last year while riding as a member of Team Yamaha. But this year, it's an all-new Jeff Stanton. It's as if he and the Honda were made for each other. If Stanton continues to improve, then by season's end, he'll be a threat to teammate Johnson. Right now, the Honda team seems to be the team to beat. Although this is only round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series, the Team Honda riders are flexing their muscle. Guy Cooper took the early lead. He was replaced by Rick Johnson. Cooper now running 3rd after being replaced in that number 2 spot by Jeff Stanton. The Big Red Machine is up and running and geared toward victory in 1989. Will they keep it up? We'll find out with more of the main event right after this. Welcome back. You're watching round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series from Anaheim Stadium. That's the defending Supercross champion, Rick Johnson from Team Honda. He's ahead of this one with a big lead over the rest of the field. Earlier, Johnson seemed ready to accept second place behind Suzuki's Johnny O'Mara. But then, O'Mara's bike broke. Johnson was handed the number 1 spot without a fuss. Number 7, Jeff Stanton, is currently in 2nd. The Team Honda rider from Sherwood, Michigan, made a brief run at Johnson, but when Johnson sensed Stanton closing, he kicked his pace up a couple of notches, and Stanton was not able to keep up. Jeff Stanton, however, has shown the motocross world he's ready to win. Rick Johnson already knows that, and he also knows if it's not Stanton, it will be someone else. Someone is always looking to knock off the champ. Champions, though, accept that. They accept the pressure. That's the price they pay. They accept that in every race, someone is gunning for their title. Earlier, we talked with Rick Johnson's mechanic about that very fact.
Yeah, they're shooting at you, but you don't worry about it. That's just from years of working in the business. It's, I guess you get experience. It just doesn't bother you anymore, you know. It'll be here. They'll do it every year, and they'll do it at every race. You just go on and do your job just like you always have.
And at this race, the first event of the 1989 Camel Supercross Series, both Rick Johnson and Brian Lunas have done their jobs and done them well. Johnson, with just slightly over a lap to go, is way out in front. And there he goes. The white flag is out. 1 lap for Rick Johnson. As this one is winding down, we'd like to give special thanks to the Mickey Thompson Entertainment Group for making this telecast possible. And to look at that, Rick Johnson with a thumbs-up sign over the triple jump to the crowd. Now you know why they love him. As I started to say, special thanks go out to Scott USA for providing the on-bike camera. In upcoming shows from San Diego and the Supercross season finale at the LA Coliseum will again feature the Scott Bike Cam. In between now and that season finale, there'll be 12 more weeks of Supercross right here on ESPN. For the first time ever, the Supercross Series will be followed from the opening round until a champion is crowned. And while we're giving thanks, let's give a call to the American Motorcyclists Association for their help in this telecast and in the series. Rick Johnson is rounding the final corner and headed for the finish line jump. And there it is, the first victory of the 1989 season. Teammate Jeff Stanton will take a hard-earned and hard-fought second place. And we're looking for Guy Cooper to finish third and complete the Honda sweep. On the floor, Mike Bell is with Rick Johnson.
Rick, congratulations, man. Made it look great.
Yeah, I got a break when Johnny O'Mara's bike broke. He was riding really strong tonight. You know, I hate to win like that, kind of having it given to me, but, you know, racing's racing, so I give this victory to Honda for not breaking.
All right, congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Feels great to start the year off with a win at Anaheim.
The official results of the opening round of the 1989 Camel Supercross Series at Anaheim Stadium saw Rick Johnson take the #1 position. Teammates Jeff Stanton and Guy Cooper finished second and third. All were Honda mounted. Harry Kehoe finished in the #4 position aboard a Suzuki, while Ron Lechine on a Kawasaki finished fifth. In sixth place, it was Brian Manley on a Kawasaki. Seventh was Keith Bowen on a Suzuki. Mike Fisher, Kawasaki mounted, was eighth, with Denny Stevenson on a Kawasaki ninth, and Sean Kalos rounding out the top 10 on a Yamaha.
It appears 1989 may well be a continuation of 1988. Rick Johnson is doing the winning, and the rest of the riders are going to have to play catch-up in the battle for the points. Behind me, the lights at Anaheim Stadium have dimmed. They're tearing the track down. Round 1 of the Camel Supercross Series is history. For Mike Bell, I'm Larry Myers.